All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're deconstructing the literal, operational, and physical realities of building an unprecedented global empire. And we're getting these insights straight from the source, Jimmy Donaldson, the mastermind behind MrBeast. I mean, when you look at the billions of views and the massive stunts, it looks like pure entertainment, right? But behind the camera is a highly calculated, incredibly demanding machine. Today, we're unpacking exactly what it takes to operate at this unbelievable scale. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting the root of obsession, the purple cow strategy, hiring A players only, the philanthropy paradox, and finally, the ultimate trade-off. Let's get into it. Section 1, the root of obsession, and exactly where this unbelievable drive begins. So here's the absolute core paradox of his success. You've got these massive, completely unfathomable public wins. We're talking the largest YouTube channel in the world, a 9-figure chocolate brand in Feastables, and literally the biggest TV show sets ever built. But then there are the hidden costs fueling all of that. Chronic health issues like Crohn's disease, a childhood heavily defined by bankruptcy, and just grueling, relentless 15-hour workdays. It's a life of absolute extreme contrasts. If we jump back to 2008, when he was just 11 years old, his family went bankrupt. They lost everything. And watching his single mom work 2 jobs sparked this fierce, intense determination in him to become a YouTuber, literally just to provide for her. Then at 15, a severe Crohn's disease diagnosis completely wrecks his physical strength, wiping out any hopes of playing college baseball. But with that path gone, his focus narrowed entirely onto YouTube. By the time he was 19, he was sitting on these crazy 18-hour Skype calls with friends, doing absolutely nothing but reverse engineering the platform's algorithm. Now, what is super fascinating here is his realization that extreme obsession, not just natural creativity, is the actual foundational engine of his entire empire. I mean, he doesn't view his brain's tendency to lock onto a single problem for 16 hours a day as a flaw. Actually, quite the opposite. He realizes that out-obsessing the rest of the planet is exactly how you uncover the solutions that everyone else just completely misses. All right, moving on to Section 2, the purple cow strategy, or how to engineer virality. So he operates on this concept called the purple cow strategy. The logic here is actually pretty simple. Think about it. If you drive past a normal cow on the road, you don't even bat an eye, right? But if you see a purple cow, you're literally forced to stop, look, and tell everyone you know. He actively hunts down the most difficult, seemingly impossible ideas because he knows that pulling off something that has never ever been done before creates a spectacle so totally unique, viewers physically cannot scroll past it. And the result of sticking to this exact strategy? A staggering average of 200 million views per video. To put that crazy number into perspective, that is roughly 2 to 3% of the entire human population tuning in to watch every single piece of content he puts out. You know, that kind of insane scale? It doesn't happen by accident. It only happens by exclusively building purple cows. To guarantee that purple cow effect, he operates purely on first principles, even when it totally throws traditional business logic out the window. Just look at his Amazon Prime show, Beast Games. Usually, a traditional TV production relies on scripted reality, producers feeding lines to people, and keeping a really tight grip on profit margins. But Jimmy's approach? Hey, let's use over 1,000 cameras recording 24/7, let's break 50 world records, and let's build the largest physical sets in television history. He actually took a massive personal financial hit. We're talking losing tens of millions of dollars straight out of his own pocket, just to make sure Season 1 absolutely shattered historic quality records. Which brings us to Section 3, hiring A players only. This is how you build the empire. He holds an absolutely ruthless standard for his workforce. Why? Because he knows deep down that bringing C players into a tight-knit group of highly motivated A players will just suck the ambition right out of his top performers. For him, surrounding himself with people who aren't 100% all in isn't just inefficient, it actually drags down the entire culture of the whole organization. To keep that standard rock solid, he uses a very specific hiring checklist. Basically, he only wants unicorns. He's looking for people who are highly coachable, deeply obsessed, and who take extreme ownership of their mistakes. But most importantly, he wants employees who see their role as a decade-long career, not just some temporary gig. He literally considers training someone for a year and getting 9 years of compounding excellence in return to be the 8th wonder of the business world. And his willingness to get into the extreme nitty-gritty minutia of his business is just wild. When his team told him that his Feastables chocolate bars breaking on store shelves was just a standard industry issue, he flat out refused to accept it. He literally went out and hid GoPros on retail shelves just to watch how the boxes fell. He then spent $100,000 a week sending scouts to 5,000 Walmarts to clean up the broken inventory. Finally, he discovered a role called a package engineer and hired one to permanently fix the structural flaw. I mean, that is the literal definition of extreme ownership in practice. Okay, Section 4, the philanthropy paradox. Let's look at the actual cost of doing good. While scaling that 9-figure chocolate brand Feastables, he ran headfirst into a massive ethical nightmare within the global supply chain. Once he realized how the industry actually operated, it pushed him to ask this very specific, incredibly tough question directly to massive, billion-dollar corporate suppliers. And the sheer scale of the answer he got is honestly horrifying. 1.5 million kids are trapped in child labor in the cocoa farming industry. Discovering this completely shook him, and it drove him to totally overhaul his own sourcing. He actually traveled to West Africa himself to trace the supply chain all the way from the bean to the bar. His mission now? To scale Feastables to $1 billion in revenue while remaining completely ethically sourced, specifically to prove to those massive conglomerates that, yes, ethical chocolate can actually be highly profitable. But here is where the philanthropy paradox gets incredibly real for him. He found that creating videos where he cures blindness or funds clean water wells in Africa somehow brings him infinitely more severe backlash than influencers who just, buy themselves a fleet of luxury cars. Our culture is just so conditioned to assume everyone has ulterior motives, that genuine philanthropy is often met with this extreme hostility and suspicion. Over his career, he has had to read over 5,000 messages from people demanding he end his own life, often directly in response to his charitable work. Think about that for a second. To survive that kind of psychological toll, he had to draw a hard line in the sand. He relies entirely on his own internal moral compass now. He determines what is ethical and right because if he let the daily, unpredictable whims of the internet dictate his values, the pressure would just completely destroy him. And finally, Section 5, the ultimate trade-off, the true price of the empire. When you really look at these realities, you see an incredibly sobering lack of work-life balance. Jimmy lives life on what he calls hard mode. Having Crohn's disease means his immune system literally attacks his own gut. That requires intense immunosuppressive meds that leave him constantly vulnerable to illnesses like COVID, the flu, even shingles. Now, combine that chronic pain with a chronic lack of sleep, 15-hour workdays, and traveling over 200 days a year, which, by the way, often results in him being hospitalized in foreign countries, and you start to see just how grueling his existence really is. Ultimately, he realizes that his spot at the top isn't just secured by money or creativity. It's secured by enduring a level of suffering and exhaustion that most humans would just flat out refuse to tolerate. He views this extreme discomfort as his deepest moat. Whenever he feels miserable, he actually reminds himself that this exact feeling, this pain, is the very reason no one else can replicate his success. It takes a lot of raw self-awareness to admit that having this unprecedented global reach is intrinsically tied to extreme personal sacrifice. He openly admits that he's often far more unhappy than happy, and that the average person would be absolutely miserable living inside his head. So as we wrap up our explainer of this incredible empire, looking at the billions of views, the massive wealth, and the truly industry-changing philanthropy, we really have to weigh it all against the immense physical and mental cost it demands. It takes a relentless, totally uncompromising obsession to build what Jimmy Donaldson has built. And so we leave you with this final thought to consider. Knowing the true hidden cost of this unprecedented success, would you make the same trade-off?